NewsX and the ITV group for doing this. I know we're late in the evening. We've had a full day of celebrations and discussions and listening to very inspiring women. Let me start by asking each of the panelists, and let me start with Lara. Lara, what is the quality you admire in women? When you look at success, how do you look at other women and say these women are successful?
Good evening, everyone. So good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Coming to women and success, I think first of all, success has different versions, right? What you may find successful for yourself may be very different for somebody else. And I feel when I look at women, I mean, any traits that a particular woman has that I don't have, I always admire that, and I learn from them. And generally it's known, one thing that I don't like about, women is you always tend to typecast us in a particular way. So, okay, women are good at this, they are multitaskers, they are this, they are that. And then at the same time, you also talk about the negatives, whatever they are. So I think for me, it is each person is their own individual person and has their own personality and brings out their own traits and strengths.
Thank you, Lara. Of course, success is very, very individual. The definition of success will be individual. Today, women don't necessarily fit into the traditional mold that we would see women in. They're breaking the glass barrier in almost every domain. So, business is, of course, my colleague Noor wrote a piece a week back saying Hindustan Levers could have had a women CEO. Not have a woman CEO. Not have a woman CEO. And of course, corporates look at the best job, not necessarily job, not woman for the job. The best woman for the job. What is your definition of success? What do you think in corporate India we've got right? And what do you think we've not got right in corporate India in terms of women being in leadership positions and on the boards much more than they are now?
Thank you, Anurag, for asking that question. I think to me, success is about the distance that you travel. It's not necessarily always the height that you reach. And I think in women's case, the success is harder fought. They've had more hurdles on the way. So, to me, therefore, Oprah Winfrey is a great example of success. I mean, she was set to be a slave and, look where she is. Let's come closer to home with the question that you asked me in the business space, being a CEO. What's been our success. I can tell you that 28 years ago, when I started working, nobody spoke about this issue at all. There was no conversation on diversity and inclusion. And I was the first female management trainee that Tata Motors ever hired. And very often, I'm still the only woman on, let's say, the CEO's table, as a CXO. But I see the women there, so the numbers have changed. What I don't think has happened is the pace at which the change, should have been. I find that last 10 years, in terms of numbers, if you look at, still single-digit women CEOs among us, the Fortune 500 companies, globally or in India. Those numbers have not changed dramatically. And what I'm not happy is that in the last 2-3 years, actually the pipeline has actually shrunk. So I'm not so sure that, in the next 2-3 years we will change the women CEO numbers especially. I think what I'm happy about once again is that people are recognizing that women can't do it on their own and that male allyship and male sponsorship are two very important parts of ensuring that more women, get to the top. What I'm happy about is that conversations happening today. Boards are asking these questions, and every forum, this question is being asked.
Thank you, Dibali. Yes, the numbers have gone up. Yes, the numbers both in middle management and senior. But I think, as you rightly said, there's a long distance to be covered. We need much more women in the middle management for it to percolate it to top echelons of management. Samriddhi, in the morning, the Deputy CM of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis ji, talked about how startup has a lot of women. You run a media tech venture. Are you happy with the number of women that we see in Indian tech startups, or do you think we have a long distance to go?
Good evening. Thank you, Anurag sir. I think, let me just start by saying that we look at individual success as individual, but the parents who actually fought for women to be here and allowed their children to actually go and achieve that success, that's where I begin success from. You know, it's our mothers and fathers who are behind fighting with the world and saying that yes, our children can go, our girls are ready to go out there and fight for everything. I think the success begins at home, right? And no, I don't think startups are yet ready to fund too many individual, women-led businesses, and women are not even trying to get into the tech domain too much. And I really believe that startup still needs a male figure to actually go and say that who's backing.
No wonder your husband is your co-founder.
Absolutely.
But who's the boss? You're the boss, or your husband is the boss?
He lets me be the boss.
Oh, he lets you. You have it's like me. I have my wife's permission to crack jokes.
Absolutely,
on her.
sir. Absolutely.
You have your husband's permission to be the boss.
I don't need my husband's permission to be the boss, but I'm fortunate enough for he to lead me the company.
Okay. On a serious note, Samriddhi, you come from the startup world. If you look at venture capital and private equity, you pitch to a lot of them.
Yeah.
Have you seen enough women in private equity and venture capital?
Actually, nowadays, yes, a lot of analysts at the lower level positions, as she was saying, there are a lot of people who are actually there who are taking the decisions, but still at the CXO's level, where the main decisions are taken, there are very less women. But yes, there are a lot of analysts at the lower level who are actually hearing your pitch, and I'm quite surprised with the way they understand without being from the industry. So yeah, it's going to change. It's changed in the last 1 year a lot.
Ms. Darda is also here. We'd get her on stage if we can get we can get the organizers to get a chair, and we'll get her up here in a moment if we can organize a chair. Lara, let me ask you, you have 2 children, you're born in a business family, you started working with your father. When you look at your husband and your father, what are the similarities and the dissimilarities? You wanted to know the questions, you know why I didn't give you the questions. Because I want this panel to be real. We don't want to say just good things to be said on panel. I've had the good fortune of knowing you for 15 odd years, and I'm asking you this because what we become, we have an impact from our father, and we have an impact from our husband when we talk of women. So that's why I'm asking this question.
So I think my father and my husband are very, very different people, very, very different. Also, I mean, their industries are so different. My father is from the business family, he runs a business. My husband is a pilot, so, they are completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Having said that, I think how they are similar is their high sense of integrity, principles, values. All those things are very, very similar in both. They both have highly, highly principled people and always like to do the right thing. I think that for me, I am fortunate enough that both have that similar trait.
Sometimes, now you've been married, you have 2 young kids, but women look for their fathers in their husbands. At least they look for the qualities. What is that one quality that your husband can learn from your father? And what can your father learn from your husband?
I think my husband is a better husband than my father is a better husband. I don't know if my dad will
I think I'm going to call Sam and tell him.
Yeah, I can say that because he's not here. And hopefully he's not watching it also online.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for being that authentic, Lara. Dipali, again, I've known you for many years. And tell me, in the morning the Deputy Chief Minister talked about the most important thing for progress, and that is opportunity. Everyone, male, female, we all have talent. It's about getting opportunities. And what he alluded to was that sometimes women don't get enough opportunities. Has that changed in the last 3 decades of your working? Do you get more opportunities these days to lead, to shine? to be able to make a deeper impact?
I think, Anurag, things have changed. If for nothing else, I think the opportunity to have a voice on social media, you know, I run a podcast myself, right? That's entirely up to me. If I want to say something, there is a forum for me to say it, and people like it, you know, then you become popular. So that, I think, is one distinct change that has happened, you know, from what it used to be earlier. I think at a corporate level too, I think the opportunities that come knocking at your door are far more, in a sense that people are evaluating the best person for the job and not necessarily, you know, the best man for the job any longer. So I do think there are many more opportunities there. You know, the worry is not at that level. The worry, if I look at this country, is, and you know, I do a lot of work with you know, STEM for girls and the poorer girls. You still have the situation in villages where, you know, the parents will actually tell girls in grade 8, 9 and 10, you don't study science, for example, you know. And you have villages like that. You still have situation where girls' education is not as supported as a boys' is, you know. And this be true for rural India, tribal India, in, you know, lower income groups, and so on and so forth, right? So I worry and wonder whether we are still an equal opportunity society for women, you know, across the economic strata. I think that is what worries me.
And I want to think about this. What happens when the wife becomes more famous than the husband? Do the husbands like? I want to know both of your views. Let me go to Ruchira now. Ruchira, I asked Dipali and Lara about what is their definition of success. What is your definition of success as a woman?
My personal definition of success, Anurag, is that I can face myself every day in the mirror and feel proud of myself, of who I am and who I'm becoming. That's my definition of success.
And Ruchira, let me ask you, you can know a lot about a person by asking them whom they look up to. Who do you look up to for inspiration? Who are your role models?
So honestly, I look at every woman who's stepping out and being herself, because our society has made this so uncommon as a phenomena. But if I was to name a few, would be people like Michelle Obama, Priyanka Chopra, or Indira Nooyi, people who have really stepped out and, you know, owned their space. These are the people who inspire me that one day I'll be there and owning my space too.
Thank you, Ruchira. Now, Samriddhi, if you had to make one change in the way the startup ecosystem works in terms of propelling more women founders, what would that be?
I don't want to change anything propelling women founders. I think startup should be evaluated at its essence, right? It should not be evaluated that it's a women founder or a male founder. I think people don't give you an opportunity just by thinking that the opportunities are still very, very close to the few. You know, even when you say there are thousands and thousands of startups, but it's still a very close-knit society, right? It's not open to the world. Until unless you know connections and you go through someone, your priorities still change. Like any other industry, I feel startup industry is also going through the same thing, right? Like in entertainment industry, 10 writers control the entire television, right? Similarly in startup, these 10 people control the entire...
Who are these 10 people?
I wish I knew, sir.
Okay. We'll exchange notes.
Yes, we'll do that later.
Okay, I get it. Ruchira, let me ask you, if I were to talk to Ruchira 5 years from now, what would you have achieved?
What, 5 years from now? I think already Ruchira 5 years from before to today has achieved confidence that she believes in herself. And 5 years from now, I see Ruchira instilling that confidence in others, that all you need to do is believe in yourself and your goal, and you're going to get there one day.
Okay, that's good. You know, I think I watched this video many years back. It's called 1 Pound Fish. It's about a Pakistani boy who goes to UK and he starts selling fish on a busy London market. And basically he believes in himself so much that more than selling fish, he starts singing when he sells the fish. And that gets him to a reality show and becomes famous and his life changes. I don't have the same view on Big Boss. I believe people who go to Big Boss, you know, I don't think it adds up to them. You know, it may add up to them in a certain ways, but I don't think really accomplished people should be going to Big Boss, but mostly reality TV shows are okay. Lara, let me I ask you, what do you think will happen when a woman is more successful than her husband? Do you think our society still is okay with it now, or it doesn't work?
I think the most important thing is to find the right husband who enjoys and takes pride in the wife's success, if that eventuality were to happen. And I think in Indian society it's not just about what the husband thinks, also what his family and his peers all around him think. So I think you have to choose your husband wisely.
Dipali, both you and Lara chose your husbands wisely, so that's why you're doing well. Husband should get credit for some success. Yes. So I don't think that's bad. But what do you think needs to change, especially after COVID? We heard that women were on the most receiving end of COVID because they were doing literally 2 jobs or 3 jobs. They were working at home. And I'm talking of not necessarily women in the senior management. I'm talking of women in the middle management, junior management. So what do you think COVID has done to women?
I think it has brought back the reality that certain biases that exist in our society still exist. And let me just explain. If you were to come to my home and you got fed good food, I would automatically get the credit, even though if my husband's cooked it, right? That bias exists that when I order a carpenter, I expect a man, right? When I order an electrician, through Urban Clap, I expect a man to walk in. Now, if in all sorts of jobs, whether it's blue-collared or the white-collared jobs, the male-female differentiation were to change, that's when this whole societal burden of looking after the home, looking after the children, and the multiple responsibility that a woman has to therefore shoulder will change. Because that's when there'll be equitable responsibility at home and there'll be equitable distribution of work, and it doesn't matter whether a husband, wife, in-laws, parents, who were to do that job. The role assignment, the stereotypical role assignment, I think made it more tough for women, when they were at home.
Absolutely, I agree with that, Dipali. Ruchira, let me ask you, again, as the DCM said in the morning, growth is about opportunity. Everybody's got talent. What happens to those women? You still come from a very accomplished family. I know your whole family. I think I was at your wedding. What happens to somebody who doesn't know? There's Sakshi here. You come from any family where you have no support system. It's you. Is there a playbook to getting successful, achieving? How do you find the right mentors? Give us a sense of how it should be.
So I hope you firstly enjoyed my wedding.
I did. That was a long time back.
It was. Yeah, rightly said, we all come from a place of privilege. So it's easier for us to talk about having achieved equality and succeeding in our workplace. And the greater challenge is that we're still talking about stuff that we need equality. So it's basically our narrative for women is generally that we need support, we need this, and we're all made to believe this, right? That if we got an opportunity thanks to our husband, and if we are doing well at work thanks to our in-laws because supporting us, and thanks to my parents, but it's not about us ever. So that really, if change has to happen at a deeper level and a greater level, we basically need to change our narrative as women, that we're just people who have skills and who do well when we work, when we put in our hard work out there. Things happen for us, just like any other person, be it man or woman. So once that narrative changes in general, we tell our girls, we tell our little girls that you just need to work hard and then go out there and get what you deserve. That's when the real change will happen. So that's one. And people coming from a background where they don't have this kind of support system, they actually need that narrative more than anything. So like our government is so good with building a narrative. So if we use those same skills to build that narrative for our girls, they will have a story to live by and believe, and they don't need to see themselves as people who need support. They see themselves as people who have the innate quality. About looking for mentors, I think in general, not even people from the lower society, but also from like everywhere, from like down to up. We all need to believe that we need mentors and we need people to look up to. We need guides in our life to take us to the next step. This is a generally under-promoted phenomena, especially when you're like young, you're studying, or you don't have that kind of exposure or background. Nobody tells you that it's okay to go and ask for help and say, you know, what do I do next? I'm stuck. So we definitely need to promote that idea and take it to every person that go look for a mentor, take guidance. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be stuck. It's okay to not have all the skills. As an entrepreneur, we believe that we should know how to manage finance, how to manage HR, how to manage the productivity. We don't need to know everything. There are people, and we need to know that we need to go and approach people for help.
Thank you so much. Let me wrap up this panel by asking you, Samriddhi, what is the advice you'd give to your 25-year-old Samriddhi, if you were to go back in life, and what would be the advice that you would give to yourself when you was 25 years old?
The only advice I would give to myself is I should have taken this risk of being an entrepreneur much earlier and not have a safe living.
Early.
Yeah, start
early if you want to be an entrepreneur.
You have to learn through your experience.
Okay, Dipali, advice to your 25-year-old Dipali Nair.
To think bigger and have a bigger vision. I think I actually genuinely thought small, and at 25, whatever I thought for myself, I achieved by 40. I wish I had thought it bigger.
Beautiful, both are very real. Lara?
I think for me in my 20s, I was like working really hard, so I would say like have more fun.
Okay, that's good. You got start early, think big, have more fun. Ruchira, you have the final word.
I think I would still tell myself believe, because I think I still sometimes dabble with self-doubt whether I deserve this opportunity or not.
All of us do. In fact, believe is my favorite word. And one day I was discussing with Mr. Karthik Sharma a show, and I said I want to call it believe, because whatever you believe in life, it happens. Give Lara, Dipali, Samriddhi and Ruchika a big round of applause. These are women who've already achieved a lot. You'll see a lot more of them in the future. And I hope each one of you mentor at least 2-3 young women leaders. I think that's one way to create more opportunities for women. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.